Attention! The screening of Russian movies and cartoons will begin in 5 seconds. Please take your seats.
Здравствуйте! Вітаю вас! Hello! My name is Sofia and this is the channel where you can learn Russian and Belarusian in a natural and joyful way. Today, сегодня, we will discover a list of 10 Russian winter movies and cartoons. We will also learn some Russian and Belarusian vocabulary and get the home task which will help you to improve your Russian. Winter movies and cartoons in Russian will be зимние фильмы и мультфильмы, and in Belarusian зимовые фильмы и мультфильмы. By the way, какие русские фильмы и мультфильмы вы уже смотрели? What Russian movies and cartoons have you already watched? Share your favorite movies or cartoons in the comments below. I have a present, подарок, for each listener. You will receive it at the end of this episode. Прекрасно! Great! Цудовно! Let's watch our movies!
Natural Russian and Belarusian. The first movie that we usually watch in winter time is Operation Ü and Other Adventures of Шурик. Операция Ü и другие приключения Шурика. This is a Soviet comedy feature film released in 1965. The director of the movie is Leonid Gaiday. Операция Ü is the property of the Soviet cinema. During the first year of release, the movie was watched by more than 40 million viewers. Фильм «Операция Ü и другие приключения Шурика» consists of 3 independent short stories called «Partner» – напарник in Russian, «Obsession» – наваждение, and «Operation Ü» – «Операция Ü». All of these stories, все истории, are united by the figure of the main character, a simple-minded but cheerful and resourceful student Shurik, whose adventures were continued in another popular Soviet film called «Кавказская пленница» или «Новые приключения Шурика», in English «Prisoner of the Caucasus» or «New Adventures of Shurik». In these films, you will see a trio of comic anti-heroes and rogues called Trus, coward, Balbes means not a very wise person, bonehead, and Бывалый means experienced. These are, of course, comic nicknames. This trio of rogues, Georgy Vitsyn, Yuri Nikulin, and Evgeny Margunov, was so beloved by the audience that in several cities of Russia you can see their monuments. You will also find monuments of Shurik and Lida, the main characters of the film, as well as these of the other famous Soviet films called Gentlemen of Fortune, Джентльмены удачи, and The Diamond Arm, Бриллиантовая рука. Interesting facts. Интересные факты. The music of the film has bright sound effects that emphasize the humor of the comedy, such as whistles, clicks and blows, свист, щелчки и удары in Russian. Many humorous scenes were invented by the actors spontaneously during filming. Thus, Yuri Nikulin improvised a scene with a skeleton clicking its teeth. The second movie in our list is Gentlemen of Fortune, Джентльмены удачи. It is a Soviet crime comedy released in 1971, filmed at Mosfilm and directed by Alexander Serый.
The stars of the film include famous Soviet actors such as Evgeny Leonov, Georgy Vitsyn, Savely Kramarov, and Radner Muratov. The film was the leader of Soviet distribution in 1972, drawing 65.2 million box office admissions. Interesting facts. Интересные факты. Evgeny Leonov, preparing for filming and getting used to the role, visited the Butyrka prison and spied on the prisoners directly through the hole in the door of the prison cell. The actor carefully wrote down everything he heard in a notebook, noting every detail in the prisoner's behavior.
Ты того! Чего того? Давай, не безобразничай.
Number 3 is a cartoon named 12 месяцев, the 12 month, or 12 месяцев in Belarusian. It is a Soviet animated cartoon produced in 1956 and directed by the super famous Russian producer Ivan Ivanov Vano at the Soyuz Multfilm Studio in Moscow. The cartoon Multfilm is based on the eponymous fairy tale play written by Samuil Marshak. The fairy tale, сказка, resembles the cartoon Cinderella, but with developed plot and happening in winter. Interesting facts. Интересные факты. Initially, the play itself was staged in 1947 at the Moscow Young Spectators Theatre, then at the Moscow Art Theatre, and finally, in 1956, a cartoon was released. It is the 8th full-length cartoon from the Soyuz Multfilm Studio. The fairy tale 12 months, сказка 12 месяцев, is characterized by high-quality and labor-intensive hand-drawn animation. The music for this cartoon and its songs, песни, was written and composed by a Soviet composer Moses Weinberg, in Russian Moisey Weinberg. Songs for this cartoon were released on children's records by Moscow, April's, Leningrad and other factories. Number 4 is an animated cartoon called Umka. It was released in 1969. The cartoon Umka, Multfilm Umka, is based on eponymous children's book written by Yuri Yakovlev. He also wrote the screenplay for this multfilm. Umka means a polar bear in the Chukchi language. Umka cartoon is about kindness and strong friendship between humans and animals. Interesting facts. Интересные факты. The cartoon and its sequel Umka is looking for a friend, Umka ищет друга, gained an enormous popularity thanks to the successfully drawn image of a polar bear cub and his mother bear, as well as the actors' voices, the music of Evgeny Krylatov, and his song called She Bear's Lullaby, in Russian «Колыбельная медведицы», performed by Aida Ведищева. In 2019, the final cartoon Umka on a New Year Tree, Umka на елке, was released, and it was dedicated to the anniversary of the first cartoon about the little bear. Thus, a series of films about Umka, his mother, and a friend boy became a trilogy. Number 5, номер 5, is a film called Иван Васильевич меняет профессию. Иван Васильевич changes his profession. It is a Soviet comic science fiction film directed by Leonid Gaidai in June of 1973. In the United States, the film was sometimes sold under the title Ivan Vasilievich Back to the Future. The film is based on the play пьеса Ivan Vasilievich, written by Mikhail Bulgakov. The film tells about the engineer-inventor Shurik, short for Alexander, who created a time machine, машину времени, that opens the door to the 16th century during the reign of Ivan Vasilievich the Terrible, Ivan Vasilievich Grozny, as a result of which the king accidentally ends up in a Soviet Moscow, and his namesake, a manager Ivan Vasilievich Bunsha, along with recidivist George Miloslavsky, find themselves in the king's chambers. Most of the film is in color, but the beginning and ending are deliberately made in black and white. Film «Иван Васильевич меняет профессию» was one of the most attended films in the Soviet Union in 1973, with more than 60 million tickets sold. Interesting facts. Интересные факты. The time machine, машина времени, for the film was created by the artist, wood sculptor and cartoonist Vyacheslav Pachichuyev. The original version of the time machine, manufactured by a special bureau, turned out to be an expressionless layout of a standard computer. Pachichuyev sketched a new model and, with the help of a designer, a locksmith and a glassblower, created a new time machine in a few days, causing the audience to feel a miracle. Pachichuyev received a prize of 40 rubles. In the certificate from the accounting department was written, "The money was issued for the invention of a time machine." Number 6 is a Soviet musical fairy tale for children and adults called New Year Adventures of Masha and Vitya. Новогодние приключения Маши и Вити. In Belarusian, it will be Новогодние пригоды Маши и Вити. The cartoon was released in 1975. It was directed by Igor Usov and Gennady Kazansky. This сказка is based on Pavel Sfin play called Masha and Vita Against the Wild Guitars. Finn also wrote the tale's script. The premiere of the fairy tale took place on the 25th of December in 1976 on the air of the USSR Central Television. Interesting facts. Интересные факты. The cartoon was shot in the parallel with the film The Blue Bird, Синяя птица or Синяя птушка, from which the scenery of the magical forest was borrowed. When actor Alexei Smirnov refused playing the role of the singing cat Matvey, the role was offered to the famous actor and singer of the Soviet cinema Mikhail Boyarsky, noticing that he is both a musician and he has a mustache. During the filming, Mikhail Boyarsky, a nephew of Koshchei, Nikolai Boyarsky, who played in the fairy tale, made a reservation, оговорка, допустил оговорку, calling Koshchei an uncle, but the director decided to leave the reservation. Директор решил оставить оговорку. Number 7 is the cartoon called The Snow Queen, Снежная королева. It was produced in 1957. Снежная королева is an animated musical fantasy directed by Lev Atamanov. It is the 9th full-length animated cartoon produced by Soyuz Multfilm. It is based on the fable The Snow Queen, written in 1844 by Hans Christian Andersen. Мультфильм «Снежная королева» is one of the earliest cinematic adaptations of the Scandinavian Danish fable since its publication in the book called New Fairy Tales, first volume, second collection. «Снежная королева» is a story of true friendship, when people sacrifice themselves to save their friend from trouble. Interesting facts. Интересные факты. The appearance of the Snow Queen differs dramatically from that of other cartoon characters. The Snow Queen was drawn using the rotoscoping method right from the actress Maria Babanova, who voiced her. In Russian animation, this method was called éclair. In this method, fully made-up actress was filmed, and then the resulting image was transferred frame by frame into drawings on celluloid. This cartoon was translated into several major languages: English, German, French, Italian, Spanish, and Swedish. Number 8 is a cartoon called Well, Just You Wait. Ну погоди. In Belarusian it will be Ну почакай. It is a Soviet, later Russian series of animated short cartoon produced by Soyuz Multfilm. According to the Russian poll held in 2014, Ну погоди became a people's favorite cartoon of all times. Well, just you wait, Ну заяц погоди, is a phrase threat from the wolf towards the hare, whom he is constantly trying to catch. The analog of the cartoon is Tom and Jerry. The 8th episode of the cartoon is dedicated to the new year. The events here take place at a winter recreation center in the mountains. The Song of Father Frost and the Snow Maiden was written by Russian poet Yuri Entin and composer Gennady Gladkov especially for the cartoon. Interesting facts. Интересные факты. The scriptwriter Alexander Kurlyansky said that he never even heard of Tom and Jerry, but the chase genre came up spontaneously. It was challenging for the scriptwriters to choose the main heroes. They considered the options of the fox and the rooster, the fox and the hare, and only then the fox was replaced by the wolf. The scriptwriters of this cartoon are Felix Kamov, Alexander Kurlyansky, Arkady Haid. The director, artist and animator is Gennady Sokolsky. Number 9 is the cartoon named Three from Простоквашино, Трое из Простоквашино, or in Belarusian Трое з Простоквашино. It is a 1978 Soviet animated film based on the children's book Uncle Fedya, His Dog and His Cat, written by Eduard Uspensky. This is a series of cartoons about a 6-year-old boy who is called Uncle Fyodor because of his seriousness, his parents, the talking cat Matroskin, and the dog Sharik. The main action takes place in the country village called Простоквашино. There they have many adventures, приключения, some involving the local mailman Pechkin, почтальон Печкин. Interesting facts. Интересные факты. Winter in Простоквашино is the third Soviet cartoon of 1984 from the trilogy about Простоквашино. But at the same time, it is not based on the story Uncle Fyodor, the Dog and the Cat. Eduard Uspensky wrote the script for this cartoon from scratch, and only in 1997 novelized it into a story of the same name with a very expanded plot. Now, little explanation. Many Slavic surnames and nicknames come from different nouns, particularly objects, professions, or places of birth. And this cartoon is a white example. The mailman's surname Pechkin comes from the word Pechka. Do you remember what does it mean? Check our episode about countryside life. The cat's nickname Matroskin comes from the word matros, which means a sailor. So, the suffix in, Pechkin, Matroskin, means possession in Russian. In English, it will be translated like the sailors. So this apostrophe and s is the possession in English, and in Russian it is the suffix in. The dog's nickname Sharik means a balloon or a ball in Russian. The country village Простоквашино comes from the Russian word Простокваша, which means a sword milk. Here we also have a possessive suffix ino, meaning that this is a place where the sword milk is or was produced. And for example, my surname is Moroz, which means frost in Russian. I have a winter surname. Accordingly, my father's surname is Frost, so he is a Father Frost. If you want more examples of surnames and their meaning, write in the comments below this episode, and I will tell you more or even make a video on this topic. Winter in Простоквашино has generated many quotable phrases in post-Soviet countries. It has made an impact comparable to that of "Well, just you wait, ну погоди" in Russian culture. And the last and one of my favorites, number 10, is a movie called Девчата. In English will be The Girls, and in Belarusian will be Девчаты. It is a Soviet romantic comedy drama produced in 1961 and directed by Yuri Chulukin. It is based on a screenplay written by Boris Bedny. The plot of the film is quite simple. What you should pay attention to is a great professional acting. Watching this movie, I didn't think even for a second that it was a movie. I didn't feel like it was an actor's game, and I lived the whole film with heroes. It wasn't enough for me. I wanted to extend the minutes of the film and see more. Interesting facts. Интересные факты. The previous film called The Unamenables, Не поддающиеся, directed by Yuri Chulukin, was filmed in 1959. It reveals the life of the Soviet youth crews and their hard work. It is also worth watching. In the movie Девчата, you will see the life of Soviet youth, their hard work in the forestry industry, how women worked on equal terms with men, carried heavy loads, worked on construction sites. In the film Девчата, you will enjoy beautiful live orchestral music playing in the background and the beauty of nature. You will see what is winter like in Russia, that it can be severely cold, particularly in the Urals. This romantic comedy, through the relationships of the main characters and their actions, show us what love is and proves its existence. You can have a lot of love here. I highly recommend this film. By the way, in our films, you will see a lot of non-verbal communication, gestures typical of the Russian people. I will tell you more about Russian gestures and sounds in the next episode. Great! Чудовно! And now I will repeat all the list of our мультфильмы и фильмы from the very beginning.
The first movie, первый фильм, was «Операция Ы» и другие приключения Шурика. Operation Ы and Other Adventures of Shurik.
The second, Gentlemen of Fortune, Джентльмены удачи. The third was a cartoon 12 months, 12 месяцев. The fourth was the cartoon Умка. The fifth was Иван Васильевич changes his profession. Иван Васильевич меняет профессию. The sixth one was Новогодние приключения Маши и Вити. The New Year Adventures of Витя and Masha. The seventh was The Snow Queen, Снежная королева. Number 8. Well, just you wait. Ну, погоди. Number 9 is Новогодние каникулы в Простоквашино. New Year Holidays in Простоквашино. And the last, number 10, was The Girls, Девчата. Прекрасно! Which movie or cartoon, фильм или мультфильм, impressed you most? Have you already decided which movie or cartoon to watch first? I have a present for you. In the description below this episode, you will find the links and description to the whole list of today's movies and cartoons, фильмы и мультфильмы. Follow the link in the description and download the PDF file. To know more about New Year holidays in Russian and Belarus, watch our episode and video on a YouTube channel. Remember that you can check yourself in our quiz. The link to quiz is located in our group in Telegram. Great! Today we have learned a special vocabulary. Let's repeat it. Movie in Russian will be film. In plural, movies will be фильмы. Cartoon in Russian will be мультфильм, and in plural, мультфильмы. The fairy tale will be сказка in Russian and fairy tales сказки. The director is директор. The premiere is премьера. Directors will be директоры. Премьера will be премьеры. A play will be пьеса and plays пьесы. The word reservation or clause is оговорка in Russian. The director made a reservation means директор сделал оговорку. As you hear and see on our YouTube channel, the words director and premiere are pronounced almost the same. And actually, there are more than 100 words in Russian that will be written and pronounced in the same way as English. So you already know more than 100 Russian words. Your home task will be to watch some of these movies or cartoons in Russian with Russian subtitles. The links to the movies and cartoons, ссылки на фильмы и мультфильмы, you will find in PDF file. You can download this PDF file in the description below this episode. If you want to learn how to read Russian alphabet and get extra materials, join our group channel in Telegram. Telegram is the Russian analog of WhatsApp, but Telegram has more useful functions. For example, there you can make polls and quizzes. So in our group in Telegram, you can check your episode comprehension by quizzes. Цудовно! Замечательно! До побачення! Goodbye! До свидания!